Hello, this is Becca and welcome. In today's video, I will be sharing my progress on the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Gathered Things quilt. Hopefully the lighting is okay. It's kind of a rainy, gloomy day here, chilly, but actually it's kind of nice after all that really extreme heat. It actually feels nice to be chilly, but it's a little gloomy today. But I will be sharing the blocks that I have done so far. And of course, in my project, I'm not going to be using a large background. I shared in the beginning that I don't want to have to stitch on a huge piece of fabric and gathering it up in my hands and trying to stitch. I don't know, you just can't really do the nicest of stitching when you have to gather something up and then it kind of rumples and it's hard to get everything flat, and I didn't want to do that. So I'm working on these little rectangle blocks that will be part of my quilt, and this is just such a nice size. This is perfect for me for what I'm wanting to do. So these are 5 3/4 by 6 1/4, which will finish down to let's see, 5 1/4 by 5 3/4. So those are my little slates that I will be working with, and this is one of the first ones that I've done. And of course that prompt, the first prompt was doily. So this is all stitched down, and I can bring this up a little bit closer. So this doily was all stitched down, and this I left not stitched down yet because I'd like to be putting some more things on this little rectangle. And being that we don't know what the prompts will be down the road, I thought I would leave myself that option to add, and I didn't want to cover this edge up. And I thought I would share quickly that this is very easy to do something like this if you want your edge turned under, which I did want the edge turned under, and I just did a little invisible stitch on this edge to hold this down until it's actually stitched down with maybe decorative stitching or whatever. But I thought I would share. So if you had a piece of fabric that you'd like to put under a doily or just somewhere on your piece, what I did here is I drew a circle or a part of a circle with a friction pen that will iron out afterwards, and then I would just kind of finger press along that line. Just finger press to make sure that it's kind of going to stay under for you. Again, if you want that finished edge. And this just takes a few seconds to do, to get that. So that's all kind of pressed under. And then I would take my glue stick, which is a sew line glue stick, and just give it a little, few little dabs of glue, just to kind of make sure that it will stay down. And then go right back and just kind of help that to go under. And then I would take my iron, and I'll just grab this pressing mat here quickly. I would take my iron, hopefully this is hot, and just give that a little press. And it's really just as easy as that. Just pressing it under, and then you can add it to your piece wherever you'd like. And it gives you a nice smooth edge, and it's easy. It's not, doesn't take time. You don't have to do any stitching or anything like that, any running stitches. it's just an easy way, and so that's how I did this. And here's another one. And I absolutely, of course, this is my favorite little fabric here with these bunnies with their little pink coats. And this is a piece of a doily, and I chose this portion of the doily to fit in that corner. And I did a second one like that. I wanted to use both of those portions of the doily. And again, I did my fabric something behind it so that you could see the doily. And of course, when these are put together, you'll have something that looks like that. So I love those. And of course, there'll be a seam allowance there, so it'll be a little bit smaller, but I like that look. And of course, this fabric just goes with, again, as I stated before, my little quilt will be bordered by all of these vintage hand-sewn blocks by some, I think, sweet person. She must have been, to love quilting and hand sewing. So I think these fabrics kind of go nicely with that, with those blocks. And here's another one. Actually, I should probably show, well, yes, I guess I can show this one. Here's another one with the doily and the 1930s vintage fabrics. And what I did there is I used this fabric for some of the little hexies and this fabric, these little teapots. And I thought those colors tied in nicely with those. And the hexagons that I used were from the paper pieces. And these are 1/2-inch hexagons. So they're little tiny pieces that are already cut out for you. I do like the kind that you can leave right in. But these are not. These are like a cardstock little hexie. And they're 1/2-inch. So I just covered those with the pink fabric. Fussy cutting, wanting to be on the flowers some and some in between the flowers. And then fussy cutting this little teapot out, putting that on there. And so you can't see it here, but it's a flower, then kind of the vines, flower, vines, and then the little teapot in the center. And then with this block, I've also gone ahead to do the thrifted thing, and I decided to start doing that, adding that to some of the blocks. Again, we're kind of operating blindly here. We don't know what the prompts will be. So I decided to add this piece of a hanky, a vintage hanky, and I've really never been thrifting, to be honest, but I have bought things at little shops and antique shops, so hopefully this counts as something thrifted. But this is the little hanky that I used, and there are 4 of these. It is so delicate. I absolutely love this hanky, whatever this is made of. It's just so fine. And so I was able to put that right in the corner like this. Put it in the corner, and I cut it. And this was, I can see through this. So what I was able to do was lay it on here so it would be beyond my lines. That's where the block will end, where those lines are, if you can see them. And I'll be trimming 1/4 of an inch beyond those lines that I have drawn. So I just made sure that I had enough in the seam allowance. And then you can just, again, with your friction marker, take and draw a little outline so that it does go up under this piece, and then cut that out, and that can be stitched on. And I did stitch that with just some running stitches here along the edge, just to keep that down. That'll be in the seam allowance. And I put this down before I put the hexies down. I lifted this up and put the the hanky down, and then the hexies. So this has the doily and the thrifted item. This is another one that I was working on with the doily. This has a hanky that I had put under it. And for this one, I also decided to, this is another thrifted item. This is another doily. And I just stitched this along here and left this lace not tacked down so that I can slip something in here, something interesting. I don't know what will come up. Let's see. This is that doily that I took this piece from. It would be on the other side of this. It was kind of like an ovalish little doily. So I took this side of it and cut it off and put it on here. So this is another block. And that has the thrifted item on it. Here's another one that I did. I'm working on this one right now. And this one has the doily stitched down, and this has the fabric just like I did with the first one that I showed you, where I just turned under the edge and did a running stitch and left this free to tuck something under. And so for the thrifted item on this one, I decided to do this part of a hanky. And this is the hanky that it came from. So I'm considering this my thrifted item. This was a round hanky, which I think is just beautiful. I love these old hankies. This was a round hanky, and you can see what I took out of there. And again, these are so light and transparent almost, but on the white background, they show up. But you can lay it on your piece, and you can trace where you would like it to be cut. Leave yourself a little extra so that the edges won't be raw. And so this one, I will just cut this down to match the block size. And these blocks will be trimmed down. I left myself a little leeway. I cut the blocks a tiny bit bigger than what I needed. And so they will be trimmed down when the stitching is all done. But this is just kind of a rough idea of the size. And by drawing those lines, I gave myself a nice parameter so that I know where to end my block and where to put my elements. It gives me an idea for placement. So that's what that one will look like. So this is the doily. I added this 1930s reproduction fabric, and here's my thrifted item on this one. So I just love those colors, and I will leave this free to tuck something else under here. I'm not sure yet what will be put under there, and we'll have to see what the other props are. Let's see. So let me get rid of this needle before I lose it. So that one has a thrifted item on it, and this one has a thrifted item. This one does, the hanky. Now for these two, I was thinking maybe I would take a piece of this and maybe put this on the edge. Like, be sure to include that blue flower in there. And then maybe I would do something like that, kind of balancing that out. So that may be the thrifted item on this block, or I may just save this doily for another block and just start a new block with this, and do something like that. So I think that's the part that I will use from this doily for something. But if I don't use that on this, I'm thinking that I may go ahead and use this as my thrifted item on here. So it'll be like the other one. So it will have that in the corner, and then I can work whatever else I'd like to, stitching, embroidery, buttons, laces, whatever. And I was thinking I would do the same thing on this one over here, so they would be matching. So I may do that. If you have an opinion, share if you'd like to comment. So I may do this on this one and this one, just so that they're matching. Or I may change it up and use this other doily on there. Do this one on one and do the doily on the other. I don't know. And I was thinking they kind of might look pretty when putting these all together. Might look pretty like that. I could do something like that in the quilt, or again, I could put them together and have a block above them with the green tying in. Could even turn it. Just depends. But so the other, let's see, this one doesn't have anything thrifted on it. And so I was thinking for this block to use a piece of this. This is kind of like a little, I guess, dresser scarf, you might call it. Excuse me. So I was thinking I may put this in the corner, kind of trying to center that little motif in the corner of this one. If you can see that, I thought that might look kind of interesting. And then for this little piece right here that's kind of open, I thought I might put a little bit of this hanky in there, just a little touch of color in that spot, and I would tuck the green under the blue. That green probably wouldn't be showing, it would be covered by the blue. But I don't know, I thought that might be it's a little bit chaotic here, but I don't know, I thought that might be interesting. A little touch of color down here in the corner, and this with the blue here. I don't know, so that's my thought on adding some thrifted items. So that would be prompts 1 and 2 that I am just about caught up on. And this Sunday we'll be getting another prompt. So I will show you the blocks so far. See if we can fit them all in here. Let's put that one in the middle. I just love the look so far. I'm loving it. It just looks very vintage to me. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I mean, it could really go any way. You could really do anything. But so far, I'll move these up so that you can see them. And of course, this line is where my little piece or little vignette will end, and the rest will be seam allowance, so it will end where those lines are. That will be what's in the little picture. So I love this so far. That could maybe be turned, although no, those flowers would be upside down. Could really just kind of play with it and do it anyway. So maybe that. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me today. This is turning, excuse me, sorry. This is turning out to be a lot of fun. I'm really, really enjoying this. My bathroom remodel is done. I am so thrilled. It's all finished, and so now I can really relax and concentrate on this. And at the very end, I will just show you my son and daughter-in-law's quilt. I had shown a peek of it last video, and I will show you another peek, just a couple of seconds, that it is really just about ready to be quilted. So thanks for joining me today so much, spending time with me, and I'm wishing you many blessings. Bye for now. Here is their quilt, just about finished. I added the birch sticks, birch branches going around, and asked them if they liked it, with or without, and they said with. So next I will sew those birch branches on, and then I will begin quilting. So again, thanks for watching. Bye for now.